So you dragged your camera out of the closet and you went down to the local lake and you came away with this photo, when really you wanted this photo. Then you went on a once-in-a-lifetime vacation to Switzerland and you got this image and you thought, that's not bad, when you could have come home with something like this. Or you're taking pictures of your family and you think, well, that's a cute photo, when really you could have done this. So if you give me just a few minutes of your time, I'm going to share with you some proven methods that will help you go from this type of image to this type of image. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome to another video. In this one, I'd like to walk you through some tips or methods on how you can improve your photography, and they do work. So if you follow some of these things and give me a few minutes to go through them, hopefully it'll improve your photography. The first one is learn how to critique yourself. This image was taken many years ago on a Nikon F5 with T-Max black and white film, maybe 100 or 200, I don't remember the speed, on a bright sunny day in South Florida. Yuck. I did my best to keep the ball inside that grass area so that it wouldn't be completely blown out. But obviously the highlights are blown out, the exposure was wrong, the composition isn't the best, and there are just so many things wrong with it. But when I took the image, I thought, well, that's pretty good. Now, granted, I was being rushed because I'm in a stadium without a press pass and you can't really move around, and I had to take it in between innings and things like that. But still, I wasn't prepared to really do it properly. So go back and look at your old images and look at some of your new images and realize where you can improve. I mean, really critique yourself. But also, when you get things right, like this here, praise yourself and realize, hey, I did a good job there. The second one is learn the exposure triangle. Learn how to go from dark to light. Learn what your shutter speed does, your aperture, your ISO, how it all correlates. And then you can do things like this. One good reason in understanding the exposure triangle is just so you know how to overexpose and underexpose. And there might be times when you want to smooth out that water and you need to know how to do it. You might want to know how to exposure blend like this here. And you have to know how to correlate between your aperture, your shutter, and your ISO. Do you want to slow down your shutter? Do you want to speed up your shutter? And how does that affect your ISO, if at all? How does it affect your aperture, if at all? In an image like this, you might want to shoot it at f8 or f10, which is going to slow your shutter speed on its own. What does it do to your ISO? If it's a bright sunny day, what does it do to your ISO? If it's a cloudy day, what does it do to your ISO? Why is it important to, at times, underexpose your image? There might be times you want to overexpose. Most times you want to try to get the exposure in your camera properly the first time. And there's going to be times you're going to want to know how to manipulate your shutter or your aperture and how that correlates to your ISO. What does it do to your ISO? Or you might want the best ISO you can get. What's that going to do to your shutter speed? If you still want a fast shutter speed, what's it going to do to your aperture? These are all things you want to know so that you can go from this to this. Another one would be learn your camera. Learn how to use it. Take your time, learn your settings. Learn how to do things. Learn how to set up your function buttons if you have them. Learn all the menus. Just really learn and understand the camera that you have. Get over yourself. I don't care whether it's Photoshop or a different program. Learn some post-processing and get good at it. It doesn't matter whether you use Photoshop or not. I don't care. Find a program, learn how to post-process, and then you can go from this to this. That's what post-processing will do for you. Oh my goodness, you got to have fun. Would I be standing out here in the rain if I wasn't just really enjoying this and having fun making these videos? But even with your photography, you have to have fun, otherwise why do it? If you're not enjoying it, don't do it. Put it back in the closet. Who cares? One thing that's critical that you have to have is patience. You have to have patience in yourself. You have to have patience with the weather. You have to have patience with whatever you're photographing. It took me almost a year to get this shot of the moonrise. And the reason why is because it seems like tonight is the moonrise or a full moon. And as you can see, it's rainy, blustery. Not gonna be able to get a shot of it. So many months it seems like down here it's raining every time there's a full moon. The last time we had clear skies and I wanted to go do it, I had a flu and I just didn't have the energy to go out and do it. So I think this one, when I put my mind to it to do a moonrise, and this one here, it took me almost a year before I could really get them. So you have to have patience. I know you hear people talk about it. They might sit for hours waiting for the weather to change. There's times I might sit for close to an hour for my buddy Henry the heron to move into a position where I can get a photograph of him. And even then, sometimes he just flies away and that's it. Now I've been searching for him for months and I haven't seen him. So it's patience. Take your time. Learn things. Get ready to fail. Everybody fails at this. Everybody makes big mistakes. You're no different than anybody else. As they say in the movie, learn it, live it, love it. Read the sign. You're just going to fail. Learn to experiment. You know, I went and picked up an infrared camera. Now I've been doing a lot of platinum printing. You know, learn to do different things. And if you fail at it, pick it up again and try to get better. It's just part of photography, and don't let it bother you. In ancient times, most of the time when you bought a new camera and it came with a kit lens, it would be a 50mm lens. And one of the reasons why is because they consider that A, a standard lens, and B, because it's pretty much the focal length your eyes will see when you're just looking around. And so a lot of people learned, at least in my day, people learned with a 50mm lens. And I would still recommend that. Learn what images look like with a 50mm lens. And then you can proceed to other different lenses. Because a 50mm lens will give you a different image than a 20mm lens. And you're going to have to learn why. And about compression. And what brings backgrounds in, and why sometimes people will shoot portraits with a 2 or a 300mm lens instead of a 50 or an 85 or a 135. There's a lot of different focal lengths that people will shoot portraits with, and it's because of the compression. When you hear people talk about, well, that's a fast lens, is it a sharp lens, and on and on and on. There's a reason why people pay a lot more money for an F1.2 and F1.4, even the Voigtlander 50 1.0 lens. It's a very expensive lens, but it gives you a very different look than a 50mm 2.8 lens. Each lens renders a little differently. It has slightly different colors to it. It has different bokeh, where the out of focus area is. They're all a little different. And before you go out spending a lot of money, I'm a landscape photographer and I need to go out and buy an F1.2 lens. No, you don't. You go buy an F4 lens for what you're trying to do and you'll be fine. But you should learn all that first. You're a wedding photographer, yeah, you might want an f1.4 lens, maybe an f1.2 lens to take photos of the rings or whatever you're trying to do. So each lens has its purpose. Each lens has its own look. And learn what it is you want to photograph and buy those lenses. Maybe 2, 3 different lenses that will do what you're trying to do. Now, yeah, I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I probably have 7 or 8 lenses, but in reality, I mostly use 3. And if push came to shove, I could probably get it down to 2. But it's nice to have different lenses. But I understand when I go to, say, photograph my grandson's baseball game, I know what lens I need. When I'm at a birthday party or a Christmas party or whatever, I know what lens I need. If I'm indoors, if I'm outdoors, if I'm out shooting wildlife, there are 2 lenses I use. I use the Nikon 24-120 and I use the Tamron 70-300. But my point is, don't spend a lot of money on lenses until you know what you're buying. And then buy a select few. Which gets me into the next topic. Does gear matter? Of course it matters. Of course it does. But it doesn't. It matters because can a good photographer get good images with just about any camera and lens? Yeah, absolutely they can. But they're going to get probably better images with a better lens. And yes, if you're reading into it, for me, lenses are more important than your camera bodies. The sensors inside your cameras, yeah, they play a role. And I'm be the first to admit I'm not the expert on which sensor and why. But I can look at lenses and see the images coming off lenses and understand what it is I'm trying to photograph. What is the look I'm going for? And I know enough now to pick those lenses. But that took me a long time. And it's going to take you a little bit of time, which goes back to the patience thing. So my only advice is, don't go out blowing a lot of money on lenses until you know what it is you're buying. Because gear matters. Know who you are as a photographer. And try not to let other people influence you. Just be who you want to be as a photographer and you'll be a lot happier. I've spoken many times about my buddy Tom, who used to always say, all you do is shoot birds and baseball. Birds and baseball. Can't you shoot anything but birds and baseball? Well, I like shooting birds and baseball. And yeah, I like shooting travel and some other things as well. I like shooting a variety of subjects. And that's just who I am. And again, it took me a long time to learn to appreciate I'm going to photograph what I want to photograph. And if people want to come along for the ride and enjoy when I share my images, great. If they don't, that's fine too. But I have to be happy in who I am as a photographer, and so do you. Know your subjects. I don't care what it is. It could be you're going to go travel. Do your research. It could be wildlife. Do your research. I've spoken many times about Henry the heron, and you've seen a couple images of him. I went and chased Henry around probably 5 days a week for almost a year. I knew his patterns. I knew where he was going to be most likely at a certain time of day. I knew how he waded down the lake, and there was a spot near where there was a little bridge, and the water got a little too deep for him to wade through it. So I knew he would take off and fly about 10 feet across to the other side of the bank. So I knew to be up on the bridge and look down and get a photograph like this. Because I studied Henry. I knew where he was going to be. Now, unfortunately, I haven't seen Henry in months. And again, it took me a long time to learn the habits of these herons. The spoonbills as well. There were spoonbills that were around here for about a year, and now they're gone. I haven't seen them. But I knew their patterns. I knew about what time of day they would be around. I knew about where they would be on the lake. And I knew there was one particular one who would let me get close to him so I could get pictures. And with the other ones, they would just squawk at me, and if I got too close, they would fly off. But with Henry and with the one spoonbill, I knew I could use the 24-120 lens because I could get close enough. With these others, I have to use the 70-300. But I know that. So I know those subjects. In baseball, if you're photographing baseball, if you know the sport, even with little kids, you know where the action's going to be. Anticipate it. Major league sports, it's much easier. Guy on first, pitcher's looking to get a ground ball, you focus on second base, and maybe you get a guy turning a double play. Maybe they don't. Maybe the guy hits a single to right field and you don't get the shot, but you can anticipate things if you know your subject. When you travel, do your research. Find out if the area, if what you want to photograph is better for a sunrise shot or a sunset shot. We've gone on a couple of these Viking cruises, which have been nice cruises. And so I researched the towns we were going to go to and what time of day we would be in those particular towns, because a lot of times you can't get sunrise and sunsets because the boat's moving. So you have to get a different type of image. Maybe you do street photography. But know your subjects. Do your research, and you'll be better off. If you've hung in there this long, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Maybe hit that subscribe button. And if you're really kind, maybe hit that like button. It'll help me out. For whatever reason, the channel's kind of been stagnant here for the last couple, 3 months. I don't know why. I guess I've watched some videos and everybody says you get into a little bit of a lull. Maybe that's happened. I don't know. But hopefully I can forge past it and start picking up some subscribers again. So if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button. And until next time, take good care of yourselves. I'll see you soon.